Hi everyone, welcome to She Politics. And today we are very fortunate to have Representative Kassay here. Representative Kassay, could you please tell us a bit about your background and what inspired you to pursue a career in politics?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me here, Jessica, and for all the work you do to empower more women to start and further their careers in government and politics. I will just start by saying I never saw myself going into politics. It was something growing up, didn't talk about much in my household. Um, Whenever I was exposed to it, it was always, I'd see men in these roles and, largely older men. And I said, okay, well, I just never saw it as a space for me. And so I pursued an education in environmental science and communications, and came back. My first job was right out of college, creating a teen volunteer program at a local nonprofit to get teens out, off their phones into the environment and into the community, and seeing, participating in ways for them to really have agency over both their community and their local environment. So I ran that program for 7 years. Meanwhile, my husband and I bought a home, and it was an 1850 Victorian. And with the cost of living being so high, we said, you know what? This is more house than the two of us need. Why don't we start a business? So we created a bed and breakfast in the house as well. So I was working sort of two dual careers, one in hospitality industry as a small business owner, and the other at the nature preserve, working with students. With those two different perspectives, I started attending meetings at the village level of government. So I live in Port Jefferson Village, and there's government sort of this like Russian nesting doll of so village is one of the smaller municipalities. Then you have the town, the county, the state, and then the federal government. And so I went to local village meetings, to listen about what they are doing as far as the mitigation of the flooding that's happening in our area, and also, being a member of the Chamber of Commerce and the Rotary Club locally with a small business. I was looking at, what the government, can do for small businesses in the area. And going to those meetings and then joining the Conservation Advisory Council for the village, it made me realize that I have perspectives that aren't being represented at my village level. And so why don't I run for the board so that I can help my village, be stronger in these areas? And so I did, and I got on the board. I ran for 2 terms, and ended up, serving for 4 years. I was appointed the deputy mayor of the village. And in those 4 years, and the work that I accomplished at the village level, I was able to see how important it is to have a very strong representative for the area at the state level, that there was a lot that the village needed to accomplish, as well as the town and the county. And I just didn't see that happening from a representative at the state level. So, again, being in the space and realizing that people who are elected, they can be wonderful people, but at the end of the day, they're people, and I'm a person. And so, there was nothing that should stop me from throwing my hat in the ring. And so I did, and ran a really tough race last year in 2024, ended up out of over 60,000 votes, winning by 831 votes. And I am the new Assemblywoman for District 4.
Oh wow, that's a very intriguing and inspiring story. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
So could you tell us a bit more about what you're currently focusing on during your term?
Sure. So as a freshman, there's a lot to learn. We even if you took civics class, or you're kind of looking at government from the outside, seeing how it functions from the inside it's incredible. People said, "Oh, are you overwhelmed?" I said, "No, I'm whelmed." Like I am here. I'm absorbing so much every day, and everything I learn makes me more excited to learn even more about it, because it's like a big puzzle, right? Like you change something over here kind of shifts. And so you have to try to understand how it all works together, both with legislation, so the laws that govern, both the local district here, but the entirety of the state of New York, as well as the budget, and, making sure that I'm out there advocating for funding for my local district, and helping appropriate funding throughout the state. So learning is one of my, key things that I'm doing right now. But I'm also finding that a lot of the experience that I had at the village level, and then also working in the nonprofit sector and the business community, has really set me up to be very ready to dive into these conversations because I have those perspectives before going into politics. So, a lot of what we're focusing on at the district office is community building. We want to make sure that we know that people know we're here and what we can help with. I never really thought about calling my state representative for help with something like, if you bought a car from a dealership and within the first, few months, it's obvious that this is not, there's something wrong with the car and they're not helping you. You can call your state representative and they can help advocate for you to make it right. So I always tell people, even if you think we can't help you, give us a call. And sometimes even I'm surprised by how we can help at the state level. Otherwise, with policy and budgeting, I'm really looking at the cost of living in the area. It is so expensive to live here. It doesn't matter if you're, a young professional, someone, midlife, especially for single folks, and then, our seniors. Everybody's feeling the crunch. And so I'm really trying to figure out between housing and, bringing money back to the district, how I can bring some relief there. Physical and mental health care, making sure that we're continuing towards affordability and accessibility, especially with that mental health care component for all ages is so important. And then, of course, with my background in the environment, making sure that we are moving forward on preservation as well as climate goals, but doing it in a way that's really practicable and in a way that we can achieve the goals that are realistic.
Definitely. Those are all very important issues in New York right now.
Mhm.
So how do you feel your experience as a woman has shaped your approach to politics?
Sure. For me, again, I never saw myself in a role like this, but I feel like there's a great value in that in a sense, because I didn't start my college career even, saying like I really want to be a politician. I'm someone who's always looked at community and that sense of community, and so not there was almost a strange advantage to not seeing myself in this role until later in life. But I do feel a certain, a great sense of pride being a woman in elected office, especially at the state level. They give you a choice: do you want to be assembly member or assembly woman? And I really thought about it, and I said I want to be called assembly woman because I want to actively hold space for other women who are currently in office, and then the women hopefully like yourself, who will be running for office in the future, and really show them that this is a space where our perspectives as women, especially for our own healthcare and other issues that exclusively affect us as women, that it's so important for us to be in these spaces and represent the 50% of the population that is women.
Yes, definitely. I agree with you. And speaking about that, what steps do you think need to be taken to achieve gender equality in politics?
Sure. For me, one of my goals in the first year and then, the first term in general is to be reaching out to our schools. We have Stony Brook University in the district, but also high schools, middle schools, elementary schools, scout troops, really, our libraries, anywhere that I can put myself to not just speak, but also be open to questions from young people who are curious about the government. I know, I'm glad to see that younger generations are becoming more involved in advocacy. But sometimes I feel like there's no, it's not but, and I feel like there's also a lack of education about government. And so if I can help fill that role and show young folks who are, as well as people later in life who are really passionate about something, that, here's the advocacy side of it, but then here's the governmental part of it, and help people who might have it click like it did for me, saying, what, I'm gonna get involved with the government end of it because you can advocate for something all day long, but if you don't have the people in the seats who are willing to vote a certain way or allocate money for something, it's going to be a struggle to make progress.
Yes, definitely. I feel like a lot of young people aren't really that exposed to politics, especially in school. So that might,
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, what has been your experience with that?
Well, when I was young, I was never interested in politics. I couldn't see myself in politics, but I feel like I've talked to a few other representatives too, and I feel like I'm really inspired by their story and how they take initiative to really change problems they see in their society. So,
Yeah, yeah. And it is, we're so many people, I think on both sides of the aisle are very frustrated with elements of government. And I think a lot of it comes from not feeling like they're a part of it. And so for me, one of, beyond specific policies is just helping people feel and really see that their voices are what are going to help drive my leadership because I'm an elected representative, right? Like I go up to Albany and there's 150 assembly members, and so it's like the whole entirety of the state of New York is represented in that one room through the voices of these 150 people. So yeah, we have a very, they call it a purple district. It's, there's a lot of people, voting Republican, a lot of people voting Democrat. And so, I have elements that make me a strong Democrat. And I also understand that we have to be listening to everyone and understanding different perspectives. Because at the end of the day, that's what's going to make the strongest policy. That's what's going to help everybody move forward together. Because I always say, like, if I'm sitting at a table with, Jessica's there, Rebecca's there, and then there's five other people. Any idea that we have as individuals can be strong, but the strongest idea to move forward on is something that we all talk about and come to consensus on because we all bring different life experiences to any issue. And those different perspectives can help us see around corners and solve problems before they start.
yes, definitely. I think that was really good insight and definitely very true. So what skills do you believe are essential for high school students aspiring to pursue a career in politics? For example, what specific organizations or activities can they join to develop their skills?
Sure. I I can't even list like specific organizations or activities because I think the most important thing is figuring out who you as a person is. Like what are you passionate about? Like what breaks your heart, and then what skills or like what do you want to do to solve that? So, that's something like I volunteer with a group called Montessori Model United Nations. And so, it's all about helping young people connect with issues in the world and not just to learn about them and be frustrated by them, but also connect with themselves to see like how can I as an individual have an impact on, hunger, for instance. We have to go into it saying, we want to make this issue better, but no one as an individual can just go and stop world hunger. But let me look at my local community and see what's happening. I always encourage people of all ages to volunteer with groups. It's tough for teenagers sometimes. That's actually why I created the teen volunteer group I did, because there's not a lot of opportunities for teenagers to just be there and have a meaningful impact without parent permission or parents having to be there. But you could always start something in a school club. Yeah, I think putting the advocacy along with action is key. So the exploration, the trying, I don't like to use the word failing, but trying and figuring out what roadblocks exist. It's really healthy. We see people who are doing incredible things in the world, and we look at them and we see them once they've reached a certain level. But we often forget that it took so much work for them to get to that level. And so often, as young people, when we start, we feel like, the first time we try something, we should be incredible or we should just give up. And for me, I always try to remind everyone, including myself, that the first time you do something, or the fifth time, or even like the 500th time you do something, you're not going to be perfect. You're not going to be, you have to practice, you have to try, you have to learn, and that's how you get to be, the strong advocate or the strong leader that you want to be.
Definitely. It's really important to try and try and try to find what you actually like in order to get your voice to be heard.
Absolutely, absolutely. Is there something that you've like tried and didn't like, and then tried something else and you found that you really clicked with it?
Well, to be honest, I'm more of a creative writer than like someone interested in politics. So,
Sure.
yeah, so right now I'm focusing more on creative writing and English literature, but I think politics is also a big part of writing in general, especially in our modern world. And we have to
Absolutely.
get acquainted with all subjects. Yeah.
But good for you for like knowing that about yourself and leaning into what you love to do. Because if you love to do something, then, I know there's the old phrase like, oh, then you'll never work a day in your life if you do what you love. It's still work. It's still work to do what you love. But, I've, uh, like having this role and I look at it as, truly public service. It's a community role. I have been enjoying it so much because it is this great opportunity for me, and it is and for the community and to serve. So you gotta find something you're passionate about, because if you try to just pour yourself into something that doesn't sit right, it's you're not going to get far and you're gonna not going to change much.
Yeah, definitely. And lastly, what advice would you give to young women in high school aspiring to enter politics?
I would say enter your community. Get into like have that political lens, have that drive, but start working with the people who are, in the nonprofit field around you. Look at, school boards or civic associations, folks who are really already, doing work, and get to know them and ask, how can I help you achieve, goals that I also want to support. Because it's so valuable to learn lessons without learning them the hard way. And also that I cannot understate the value of community and connecting with the people who one day you might be asking for their vote. And they're going to be so much quicker and so much more ready to support you if they have already seen what you have accomplished with them or for them, as opposed to saying, I like this is what I want to do. If they can say, oh no, I know, that this person has already done this, this, and this, I know that they're going to do what they want to do. So definitely, keep that political lens and also start working within your communities.
Definitely. Thank you so much for that advice. And that concludes our interview. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Jessica. This has been a pleasure.
Okay, I'm gonna stop the recording.